Let's take a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. We are watching a high-stakes dispute unfold between the city of Houston and the state of Texas over a controversial immigration policy. The state has revoked $110 million in funding over a new HPD immigration ordinance. Now the mayor is pushing to overturn that ordinance to get the funds restored. Last week, City Council approved the ordinance clarifying when officers can detain someone for immigration purposes. The mayor says the loss of funding has already had an immediate impact, including cuts to police overtime. He calls it a serious blow for public safety, especially with the World Cup coming to town. Maria Aguilera getting reaction from both sides of this issue.
Tonight, a growing dispute between the city and the state over an immigration ordinance Houston City Council recently passed. Now turning into a back and forth over what happens next.
The governor has the authority to give and take monies away, and we better listen to him, and that's my responsibility as mayor, and that means working with Austin to get them to restore the monies that they froze yesterday.
Mayor John Whitmire says the state has already frozen $110 million in funding, forcing immediate changes, including cuts impacting Houston police. He says the priority is getting that money back.
And I'm asking for one day. I'm asking for one day to go to court.
I respectfully disagree.
That exchange highlighting the divide as some council members push to take this fight to court. Attorneys with the ACLU of Texas, like David Donati, argue the ordinance at the center of this fight does not stop police from working with federal immigration authorities. But state officials argue it goes too far, saying it limits how Houston police can coordinate with ICE.
I don't deny that this is a huge impact on the city of Houston, $110 million to public safety. We are talking about police and firefighters. We are literally talking about an effort to defund the police because Governor Abbott doesn't like the ordinance that our elected officials implemented last week.
Meanwhile, Houston City Controller is urging city leaders to hold their ground. In a statement, he says in part, this ordinance is grounded in a simple principle: protect Houstonians while upholding the law. The mayor and the city attorney agreed that this approach was legal, adding that the city attorney should be in court immediately fighting this attempt by the governor to defund the police. With different views from city leaders, attorneys, and elected officials, the question now is whether to fight the state in court or change course.
To be determined. That was Maria Aguilera reporting. A former Baytown High School guidance counselor facing serious charges. Investigators say she had an inappropriate relationship with a student that started when that student was 14. The boy telling authorities the counselor said she transferred to his high school to follow him when he became a freshman. Matt Doherty with more on the story.
According to court records, the investigation started with a question. Late last year, a Goose Creek CISD police officer says a 15-year-old student at Lee High School asked a staff member what happens to a district employee if they sexually assault a student. The question led to more questions from investigators, who say the boy ultimately told them a high school counselor had been sexually assaulting him for years. The court documents state 43-year-old Lorinda Picardo first approached the boy when he was 14 years old. Court records indicate the boy claims she allegedly told him he was cute, got up from her desk, and then kissed him. As time passed, the teen says Picardo would regularly have him come to her office during his school day to do schoolwork, even reportedly telling the teen that she loved him. When the teen moved on to high school, he said he thought things would end. But one day he says he saw Picardo in the hallway. That's when he claims she told him, quote, I transferred to your school to be with you. Then the teen says things escalated. He told investigators Picardo would get jealous if he talked to girls, and he lost friends due to her controlling nature. Investigators say the counselor's intentions were confirmed through text messages with the teen, made outside of school hours. Tonight, Goose Creek CISD tells us Picardo is no longer an employee of the school district and that she has not worked there since the end of last year.
That was Matt Doherty reporting. The city is issuing a warning about the threat of human trafficking during the upcoming World Cup. KHOU 11's Katira Winfrey sharing more on our Instagram about the city's efforts to keep people safe.
We are just a couple of months out from the start of the FIFA World Cup, and with that, law enforcement as well as the Houston airport system says that increases the chances for human trafficking. We're going to be having people coming to Houston from around the globe. So with so many people, they say the risks go up. Officials say trafficking is often happening right in front of our very eyes, and Houston is not immune to it. As a matter of fact, may be at even more risk considering how large our airports are, and that's often how trafficking victims are moved from place to place. I got a chance to speak to a trafficking survivor. She started being trafficked at 10, being moved from Fort Bend County into Houston, and ultimately sent back and forth to Lubbock to be abused. They say it's important that we recognize the signs. So in addition to people keeping their eyes peeled, the Houston Police has a task force along with other agencies who will be paying attention to this and cracking down on those perpetrators and also working to bring those trafficking victims to safety.
Katera Winfrey reporting there. Big ships, big excitement along the Houston Ship Channel as Fleet Week gets underway in Houston. Michelle Choi takes us inside the action at Bayport.
A powerful sight over Houston, Navy ships sailing in, marking the first ever Fleet Week in the city. At Bayport, the USS Kearsarge, the flagship, docking just before midday, where we got a closer look both outside and inside at its capabilities, including a medical wing designed to handle mass casualties.
And it's an amphibious assault ship. It carries U.S. Navy sailors and U.S. Marines. So a lot of combat capability.
The USS St. Louis also arriving today and docking at Pier 8 in Houston. That's where the public will get a chance to step on board with free tours starting tomorrow. Rear Admiral John Hewitt says Fleet Week is about connecting with the public.
We want to give back to the community. We want to show the American taxpayer where your tax dollars are going. And with the sailors and the Marines that are aboard this ship right now, there's a lot of pride, and they want to engage with Houstonians.
For the service members, what does it mean to be able to do this as well?
They get to say what it's like to be in the Navy or the Marine Corps, maybe inspire that next generation that want to put on the cloth of the nation.
Among the service members, Ensign Alyssa Bias, a full circle moment for the Deer Park High School graduate who serves on the board.
I think getting to be a part of this on my first ship and my first real tour outside of Norfolk, being able to come home, is super exciting. Shout out Deer Park, go Deer!
How about that? That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.